Hello. We're at week 4 of reviewing Brené Brown's Braving the Wilderness. And in this chapter, we're starting to get to grips with what we can do to become that true belonging self. How can we be the person that shows up, knows who we are, what we want, and communicates that with others bravely? So it's using those braving skills that she introduced in one of the previous chapters. But in this chapter, which is called People Are Hard to Hate Up Close, Move In, we're looking at how do we start to change how we are in order to create an environment where there's less fear, less rhetoric, less separation, and trying to again connect ourselves to others humanely, human to human. So what she's arguing is that hate and division gets easier the more distance we are. So the further our heart is away from the other person, the easier it is to get caught up in stereotypes and ways of seeing groups of people that are different from ourselves without really getting up close. Because when we say we hate a certain type of person or a certain religion, it's difficult to do that and say that when we are next to a neighbour who might be of that religion and yet we rely on them or have a closeness to them. So she recognises that difference can cause fear and lead to separation. And what we're aiming for is to lean in, to have conversations, to get to know those people that we don't really know at the moment. And she's also talking about how is it possible for whole groups of people to become alien, sort of separated, that we distrust and dislike whole groups of people to the point where terrible things can happen to groups of people that we notice going on in our lives today and throughout history, that it is something that we are capable of going to that point where we stop seeing a person as a human and start seeing them as this group, this entity that we fear, dislike, hate in some way. And she says that language is really important, the way we describe people. And when we hear that, when we hear people being described in that way, we have to call it out. We have to stand our ground. We have to show up in those initial stages where she gives examples of police being called pigs or people using less human animalistic words to describe other groups of people, like the Nazis described the Jews as rats and Rwandans named the Tutsis as cockroaches. It's that description that subhumanizes people, makes it easier to distance yourself and not see them as just like you. So, what's the answer? Well, it's about having conversations. So, starting to be open, with safety, so physical, emotional safety. So, you have the boundaries, but with the idea that you don't get stuck in just assuming something about somebody else, but instead open up conversation and dialogue. Now, that is easier said than done. And it is about recognizing that there is an emotional pain, emotional longing, a shared vulnerability and respect that can develop when we truly hold a space where we can listen and try and lean in and understand. So it's in stages, and there are some guides within this chapter. So speaking with civility, so recognizing that you are not going to fall into the trap of going along with what other people are saying about people. So honesty and respect. So keeping your boundary with this, your integrity, is part of the braving skills, holding space for genuine disagreement, so you might not agree, but not turning that other person into an enemy. They are still human. So staying curious rather than argumentative. Ask questions. So seeking understanding and making space to listen, to really hear what that person might be saying. So it's not us versus them. And acknowledging your pain, their pain, in what their experience might have been and how they're holding the view that they are, as well as holding your own emotional responses and knowing that you also are holding those and that's forming your opinion too. So it's allowing that I'm not going to be in a bunker, just protecting that opinion, but rather hearing another version and understanding that that might be important and relevant for that person to hold that. So it's protecting dignity, protecting your boundaries. It doesn't mean that you have to go along with what the other person is saying. You don't have to agree with them, but it's allowing them to have that opinion and sharing it so that there may be common ground. Certainly, as humans, having that common ground and trying to bring in a sense of vulnerability, a sense of understanding, of love, of compassion, of courage, so that we can hold the space. So belonging and safety can go in hand, but boundaries are necessary. The conversation isn't about ideas, it's about sharing that longing for connection so that we are not so separate from each other. And she ends the chapter with an interview with Viola Davis and her journey to becoming herself and addressing that prejudice that she had to experience, the hard upbringing that she had, but acknowledging that her voice is powerful and she can accept that she wasn't in a position of power, but now she holds that because she holds that for herself. So, an interesting chapter, that essence of conflict transformation is something that I'm going to take away from this. So instead of conflict resolution, which suggests to some degree you're trying to get back to something and one person wins over another, there's a resolution, but one's a winner, one's not. It's almost like a transformation that we both understand the conflict or what is at the heart of the argument or the difference, and finding ways collectively to share that understanding and how you're going to live with that, through that, or support each other alongside. So that's the work from this week. So I hope you enjoyed that chapter. Any comments, please do that here. My name's Carrie Dubber from Carrie Dubber Therapy, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye-bye.